Well, hello. I'm Bob Weir with another interview of people in the news in North Texas. My guest today is Texas State Representative Tan Parker, representing District 63 in Denton County. A businessman and lifelong Republican, Parker has drafted some of the most significant legislation in the Lone Star State. Among his many accomplishments is his drafting of legislation that deals with protection for women and children against human traffickers, and his legislative efforts to protect children from sexual abuse and neglect, such as Jenner's Law. Recently, Representative Parker sponsored House Bill 4359, the Lone Star Infrastructure Protection Act. Thank you, Representative Parker, for taking the time to tell us about this bill.
Well, Bob, my honor to be with you. Thank you for the privilege and the chance to talk about this important bill and the implications for Texas.
Okay, if you begin just by telling us why is the Infrastructure Protection Act necessary?
Well, look, at the end of the day, there's nothing more important than the security and the safety of our people, first and foremost. And when you look at what's going on in the world today, and not just because what's occurred in the last month, but looking specifically at the fact that there are enemies of the United States around the world, there are rogue nations that are very aggressive with regard to trying to hurt America. It's important that we recognize that we address the need to protect our critical infrastructure. And that's what this bill is all about. It's about protecting our critical infrastructure, in particular, our electric systems and our water systems in Texas from investment from any country that would have a hostile, if you will, position towards the United States and Texas in particular. And that's really what the bill is all about.
Did we become aware of our energy vulnerabilities after the deep freeze that hit Texas recently?
Well, I would say that in my case, no. I've been very aware of our vulnerabilities for many, many years. In fact, dating back as far as 2015 timeframe, I was bringing in many of our nation's leading experts on securing the grid to the Texas Capitol. People like Frank Gaffney and others from Washington that are tremendous leaders on this topic to raise awareness and to educate members with regard to all types of threats to our vulnerability of our grid. Everything from talking about EMP, electromagnetic pulse, to talking about cyber attacks on our infrastructure, terrorism attacks, obviously, on our infrastructure, as well as, of course, naturally occurring weather events, much like the type of extreme weather event that we saw roughly a month ago with the horrible storms and the implications that that it had for Texas, the horrible devastation to our people, Bob. So that particular topic for me has been one that I've been very vocal and championing for a long time. I carry legislation, this particular bill I'm referencing, that would have created a grid security vulnerability council back in 2015 to identify all of these concerns and share those just with those with top secret clearance back in 2015. It didn't move, unfortunately, in 2015, but the bill did move in 2017. It moved through the House. I was fortunate to get it passed out of the House, but unfortunately, we didn't make it out of the Senate in time to get it done in 2017. So I'm actually carrying that bill again, in addition to the bill that we're already referencing on the infrastructure security bill for Texas that would prohibit investment by any of these rogue countries. And in particular, I should say, I'm talking about North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China in particular, to kind of give you some background for the viewer.
These hostile countries we're talking about, do they own a significant amount of land and industry in Texas?
Bob, to be very candid, we don't fully know. Obviously the federal and state authorities are working to address these issues and to be on top of them from a regulatory perspective, but there's a lot that we don't know that's occurring. And this bill is essential because it gives another tool, so to speak, in the toolkit for law enforcement in Texas, as well as at the federal level, to be able to stop any type of hostile actor potentially from coming in to act as an investor, to operate a company that specifically addresses these critical infrastructure areas, such as, again, the electric supply, as well as water systems here in the state of Texas.
Oh, so if one of these hostile nations were interested in buying some property or part of an electric grid or something, would that be monitored by a federal agency or a state agency so we know what their intentions are or and who they are?
Well, certainly. I mean, some of these things, if there are concerns with regard to, who the potential owner would be or investor would be, yes, Washington, the Department of Homeland Security watches all those types of issues on an ongoing and regular basis, just like we do here in Texas. In particular, our Texas Department of Public Safety takes really the kind of the front lines on some of those awareness issues as well, and flags things that are as of I should say of concern. And so that's really the beauty of this bill. If we are blessed to pass it, and we must get that done this session, is we now will have another tool in our toolkit to be able to stop this type of activity, be it not just through the direction of our agencies, but we'll have something in statute which gives us more strength if we need to go to the courts or whatever is necessary to be able to block any kind of hostile entity or some entity of a hostile country from being able to come in and do any type of harm to the people of Texas, Bob.
So if any of these hostile nations are able to insinuate themselves into the industry, the land, for example, in Texas, so wouldn't they be closely regulated by the state or federal government? I mean, wouldn't that be a part of the agreement?
Absolutely. It just depends, Bob, on what's happening, right? How they're coming into the play. Are they coming directly? Are they indirect? There's all kinds of different, corporate legal structures that we may not know what's taking place. And so that's the reason why, one, we need to be always on our guard and be vigilant to know what's taking place, particularly as it comes to these critical infrastructure pieces. And this bill will provide a tremendous tool in our toolkit to protect Texas from these kinds of hostile entities. Again, I want to stress, we want all people in the world that are good people that want to bring good quality investment and collaborate and partner and be a part of this incredible experiment we call Texas, how blessed we are to be Texans, to be able to invest and participate in our economy. But it's absolutely essential that we protect rogue powers and rogue entities from doing harm to the 30 million people that call Texas home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think we all were given a kind of a scare when this deep freeze happened, and we lost those comforts we've become so used to, and long periods of time without electric and heat and stuff like that. So I could just imagine what would have happened if we got these hostile nations in control of some of this. So I think it's important to make sure someone's watching.
Bob, that's exactly my point, right? Like you asked the question earlier, has the storm brought greater awareness? I think it's brought greater awareness for the public at large and maybe some of my colleagues. But for me in particular, I've been very keenly aware of these issues for a long time and being aggressive with regard to trying to pass legislation that would give us tools in our toolkit to defend ourselves and to be able to identify all these vulnerabilities. And as you just said, we all recognize after how that storm in 4 or 5 days brought us to our knees, that the absolute need to be aggressive and protecting our infrastructure. It's just essential. And I might also add that I'm very honored to work with my good friend and colleague in the Texas Senate on this bill. Donna Campbell is my colleague who is carrying the bill in the Senate. So we're working together to get this across the goal line in both chambers this session and to make us successful.
Do you feel confident that it will pass?
Bob, this is an unusual session in so many ways because of COVID. We're not going to pass the same number of bills that we normally would. And so that's why I want to be vigilant. And it's why I appreciate so much you taking the time to raise awareness of this bill and allow me to talk to your audience directly about the importance of passing it. Because we need to definitely reach out to all of our legislators and make certain that everybody realizes the importance of getting this bill done here during the session. So I take nothing for granted. I think we're got a very good shot, but I take nothing for granted. We'll work tirelessly to try to get it done, Bob.
Yeah, and I think the recent shock that Texans had kind of wakes them up to the need for something like this. So as you said, you've been working on it for a long time, but maybe others haven't been paying attention. Now maybe they'll pay attention to the possibilities here.
Bob, I think that's exactly right. I think it's exactly right. And so, look, just like I will fight passionately to protect and pass, Republican priorities, conservative, pragmatic, common sense priorities here this session. This bill, in my mind, needs to be one of those. It's just essential that we have this in our toolkit, as I said earlier, to protect our state and our well-being and our way of life. The last thing we want to see is something devastating and awful happen as it happened a month ago. And let me say this as well for all your viewing audience, that, I am absolutely committed, as are my colleagues, that nothing like what we experienced a month ago will ever happen again in Texas. This session is about making certain that we have fixed those issues, both structurally as well as in what we mandate, the various private sector companies and everyone involved in the process to another level of standard, to make certain that we never suffer anything like what we experienced as Texans roughly a month ago during that horrific storm. So it's all an extension of that, but certainly something that I've been very well aware of and working on for many years.
And we can only hope that that all responsible legislators will feel similarly, because it seems like this bill is it's a ground ball. I mean, why wouldn't you want a bill like this?
Bob, that's my perspective, is that, at the end of the day, this is about the most important thing we have on our plate as lawmakers is the safety and security of our people, right?
Yeah.
And that's traditional law enforcement. It's securing the border, stopping all the drug cartels, all the human trafficking cartels, all those things that we protect 30 million people and our families. But this is absolutely an extension of providing that security for our people, is making certain that this electric grid and our water systems are always functioning and that they can never be taken down by any kind of hostile or rogue power that has an interest in hurting Americans broadly and Texans in particular. And so that's what this is all about. Your assessment is exactly right.
And that's why it seems to me like a no-brainer. So
Absolutely.
we hope this would pass. Well, we're coming to the close. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, Bob, look, I just appreciate this public service that you're providing to the citizens of North Texas, to have the opportunity to interact with people that are working on all kinds of timely issues. And I appreciate the privilege of coming before you today now, here from my office in the Capitol, as we're now in the middle of session, to talk about the importance of this bill and why we absolutely have to get it passed. It is absolutely essential to the security and safety of all 30 million Texans. So thank you, sir, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I want the viewing audience to know that I want to hear from them. I look forward to ongoing dialogue on this bill or any other topic. And I'm here to serve you. And so for everybody that's listening, please come see me in Austin. Please call me. Whatever's on your mind, I want to hear from you. So thank you again for the privilege of having the chance to talk about this bill and the chance to serve the people of Denton County.
And thank you, Representative Parker, for all the work you do to protect Texas values and security. We really appreciate your work. Have a great day.
Thank you, Bob. God bless. Take care of yourself.
God bless you.